Jessica, you basically became a NASCAR fan because of the Netflix
Formula One
series.
Big
Excuse
fine.
me. Ooh,
Gigantic fine. Oh
That
my
is
God.
a big fine.
Jeez.
That is I deserve
NASCAR's
fine.
fun, by the way. Have you guys ever been to a race?
never.
Oh, you need to look. I went to the Daytona 500 a couple years ago because Marty Smith hooked it up with some
The Great American Race.
yeah, some pit passes in Daytona.
Ooh.
It was Danica's last NASCAR race, so it was like a whole thing. There's a lot going on. Fun, very fun on the infield of the NASCAR race.
She does Sky Sports coverage now for Formula One.
I have not found it fun to go to NASCAR races.
Where'd you go?
Loud. I've been to Daytona. I've been to Homestead.
On the infield,
Just,
or did you have seats?
I have been on the infield and I've been in the press area, and it's just unbearably loud.
Well,
And I can't see a great deal of what's going on because, it's if I'm on the infield.
Oh no, it's awesome, Dan. Like there's, you basically 80% of the time nothing's happening, so you're just kind of reveling and enjoying
Tailgating,
basically, and then all of a sudden you just and you turn and they're gone, and then you're like, okay, back to what we were doing.
I
will
like the
say,
Kentucky Derby.
I will say the Formula One in-person experience was not tremendous either.
I had vastly different experiences at Miami versus in Austin.
Really?
Yeah, vastly different.
Austin was great and Miami wasn't?
Miami was, I don't really know what it was. Austin was great though.
In terms of being able to see racing?
In terms of everything, the atmosphere, what it was, Austin it's like a circuit out in the middle of nowhere, and it's set up all around the circuit. Miami is all through Hard Rock Stadium, and there's stands set up everywhere. You can't really see very much. It was more hospitality focused versus camp, festival focused. It was very different.
The question I wanted to ask you, though, before I confused F1 and NASCAR, is that you became a fan of F1 because of a reality series on Netflix that you found captivating and dramatic, and we're looking forward to golf copycatting that. And you have checked in with this series now, the golf version of, is it called Drive to Survive?
Full swing. It should have been called Driver to Survivor, if you know what I mean.
That's an open goal.
So before the show came out, I think I said on this program that I was excited for it, but I didn't think that it would be able to match the same energy as the Formula One show Drive to Survive. And so far, I've only seen the first 2 episodes. It has been a little bit of a snooze. I'm not going to lie. It has been pretty boring. And I watched the tennis show that the same production company, Box to Box, made. Point Break. And kind of the same thing. The action is just not very exciting because these sporting events don't have the same thing Formula One has when it comes to the action of cars going 180 miles per hour. Doing golf montages is just not the same. It's not as exciting. One of the most exciting things that happened on the actual, golf course last year was, I think, the PGA Championship playoff between Will Zalatoris and Justin Thomas. That was actually in their first episode, and it was a 3-hole playoff, and it was really fun to watch live. And they did a whole recapping of that in this episode, and somehow they made it more boring. It was not very exciting to watch.
So you're disappointed, very disappointed, a little disappointed, incredibly disappointed. Where do you rank your level of disappointment? Because you had expectations for this thing.
Did. I mean, I think right now I'm incredibly disappointed. My boyfriend has totally checked out. He doesn't want to watch any more of it, so I'm gonna have to fight for the TV for the rest of the weekend. Will you be
a willful viewer that stays through things just because you have invested in the early stages?
And here's the other thing, Dan. So people are saying, wow, thank God that all that live golf stuff happened last year, so the show would be more exciting. In the first 2 episodes, they haven't even touched live golf, and I don't know why, if that's your big thing, you would wait to introduce that to the story, to the season arc, until after the 2nd episode. I assume it's going to come into play in the 3rd episode, but then after I watched the 1st episode, I'm like, surely they will mention live golf in the 2nd episode, and they didn't. The 2nd episode was all about Scottie Scheffler being really good, which that's not that interesting. Scottie Scheffler is a great golfer, won the Masters last year, won Waste Management 2 years in a row. He won 5 tournaments in 3 months or something like that last spring. There's not much else to say about it other than he's been playing really well. He played really well last season. He won Waste Management again this year. And then the other storyline in that episode was Brooks Koepka. Why has he been struggling so much? And I think they were trying to position those 2 things against each other. Scottie Scheffler's a young, hot golfer right now. Brooks Koepka was that 3 years ago and something happened. Like, he's had injuries. He's had all sorts of issues. He hasn't won anything in 3 seasons. Like, what the hell's going on with Brooks Koepka? He seems totally checked out. He seems kind of depressed. And so they're kind of like pitting those things against each other. And they have great access. Like, Brooks Koepka is sitting down for interviews. Scottie Scheffler's sitting down for interviews. But, like, nothing really that interesting is happening. They're just playing golf.
What episode are you by? 2?
I finished 2, yeah.
Okay, so it looks like episode 3, Money or Legacy, Live Golf is introduced.
There we
to
go.
The fray. And then
A little spice.
episode 5, I'm looking at the description here. Tensions between the PGA Tour and Live Golf reach new heights. So it looks like the Live confrontation's coming up.
I don't know why you wouldn't lead off a show with that. If that's your best material, and there's apparently like a scene where Rory McIlroy is talking about Phil and calls him an asshole or something like that.
He said F Phil Mickelson.
Okay, he said F Phil Mickelson.
And like turned to the cameras like, "Do you guys get that? Good."
Right. Wow. Like, there's apparently like stuff happening, but to me, like, the sport itself doesn't serve. It's not served by 60 frames per second slow-mo shots of putts.
Put it
It's
on
just
the
not.
poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. If you've watched 2 incredibly disappointing episodes of something that is 8 episodes long, will you stick with it till the end? Because some people are stubborn that way. I was surprised yesterday. Maybe I shouldn't have been. The reaction of hostility to John Skipper saying on Big Suey that he sees a future, and this is like the 3rd time he said it, he sees a future where the Super Bowl is pay-per-view. That just seems obvious that everything is headed that way. And he got a lot of this. John Skipper might be the biggest idiot in all of sports, destroyed ESPN, now wants to destroy the Super Bowl. So many people were hostily angry about the suggestion that they would have to pay for something that they're used to getting for free. So many people were writing in, "Goodbye Super Bowl if you charge me 1 cent for the Super Bowl." I shouldn't have been surprised by the reaction because it was hostile.
It's more, I think, from a consumer standpoint, it's shut up, don't give them a good idea. Because that sounds like a great idea, but the problem is now I have to pay $250 for the Super Bowl. I like it free. Don't tell them that like they can bilk me for more. Of course they can bilk you for more money for football. Football has never asked you to pay money. Like, in terms of to consume its product. If you want to be a fan of your local football team, you can do so for free. You need a television.
Unless they play Monday Night
If the
Football.
game is sold out.
No, well, that hasn't been the case for 15 years. The blackout thing was gone. But like you buy a television and you have an antenna. That's all you need. You can watch every single football game all season long. You watch all the playoffs. You can watch most of the big primetime games. All you need is an antenna and a television. But all of a sudden, hey, do you want Thursdays? You have to pay for it. Do you want all of the games out of market? You have to pay for it. But they have not actually asked us to pay money for football. And that, I think, is a huge part of their success. Most of the other sports spend most of their seasons either on pay TV or on streaming, and it's not as accessible. But the NFL has been able to be successful financially on free television. But if all of a sudden they ask us to pay, we're going to. We're absolutely going to.
Not everybody.
When you say $250, you're saying you're buying the entire season plus the Super Bowl, right?
Skipper floated the idea of just the Super Bowl for $250.
You can kiss my ass
and make it like a
He signs the checks.
there you go.
I'm not talking to him. I'm talking about the NFL and $250.
You go ahead and clip that, Juju, of Roy saying to John Skipper, "You can kiss my ass." Go ahead and clip that. It's too late. Roy has decided that this is going to be his Arnold Schwarzenegger phrase. "You can kiss my ass." He's got
a few of those.
He's trying. Well, but that's the one. He's trying to bring that back. And I feel like it had died quietly, but Roy is trying vigorously to keep it afloat.
I'm trying, Dan.
A bad place to try it with the CEO of the company.
It's
weird.
Yeah.
We were talking back here about if we would pay, if the price was $250 for pay-per-view, would you pay to watch the Super Bowl? I think that the way to do it would be to like go to someone's house and pitch in like people do for pay-per-view fights and stuff like that now. But Billy says he's not watching it.
I don't think I would pay $250. I mean, maybe I would go to a house, but also I was asking, an unnamed Lewis, that works with us. Like how do you like stream that illegally? Like so you don't have to pay
Well,
for that.
that will happen
Yeah.
plenty. $250 sounds like
A
it
lot.
would make me
That's a
jittery
lot of money.
as to when I'm got 110 million customers watching the commercials. I think I'd lose a lot of them.
David Sampson would pay it though. If he could sit front and center in that, movie theater for $250. Well, I guess not front and center, middle and center. It's worth it, right?
But if it were $89.99, like a normal boxing pay-per-view, that's the model that we're saying. And in theory, the Super Bowl has way more demand than a boxing pay-per-view would. More people in America, at least, are interested in the Super Bowl than any fight ever.
But then, like, do the artists start asking for money to do the halftime show now that you're charging for this? Because theoretically, people would, like, maybe buy it just to see that, which is a waste of money. Why would you pay $250 to see a 15-minute halftime show?
Did
if that's what you're
Apple
interested in?
Music pay $250 million for 5 years of the halftime show just to put their stamp as a $50 million sponsor on those 30 minutes? Do I have that number right? Because it was a fairly extraordinary number that doesn't mean much of anything to Apple because they make so much money.
Are those worth it? Like, because before it was like a Pepsi halftime show, right? But like, I wasn't drinking Pepsi because Britney Spears was singing the halftime show.
But
I was
you
just
saw-
like, it's the halftime show. I've never had a name associated with the sponsor. Like, it
But
doesn't do
you
anything.
saw what Rihanna's numbers did on Spotify and streaming just by virtue of being in the Super Bowl halftime
Yeah,
show,
but
right?
then if she does it on Spotify, then it's not helpful for Apple at all. It's like, oh, okay, Apple's going to pay for Spotify's downloads to go up of Rihanna.
I mean, advertising is never about direct conversion. It's never about you see an ad for something, therefore you go buy it. It's about brand awareness and being associated with something that 118 million people watched and saw your logo. And if, some people see that and maybe they're thinking about switching from Spotify or about, which music service they're going to pick, maybe that advertisement will affect them. By the way, you're correct. It is the NFL was looking for 50 million annually to brand the Super Bowl halftime show, and they got it from Apple over 5 years.
I think Apple lost me forever in terms of like going to get music from them when they forced that stupid U2 album on me, like on the phone years ago, where every time I plugged in my phone in my car, like back in the day where I had to like plug it into the it's the same thing as like the USB and all of that. Like U2 just started playing over and over and over again. I was like, enough. I think I actually deleted Apple Music from my phone and had to like look up online like how do I do that? I had to take pieces off of my phone to take it off. Like that's how hard it was to get that out of there.
Is that the worst marketing / advertising campaign in history? Because people have more negative associations with their Apple Music and U2 than positive because of that whole experience.
U2's popularity took a giant hit right there with the blatant, brazen commercialism that felt a little bit like that Sandberg movie Pop Star, where they're putting songs in
Never
your
Stop, Never Stopping.
fridge. I like that.
That was
movie.
a good movie.
I don't know. I would probably say Pepsi during the protest of 2020 when they tried to capitalize on that. That was bad.
There was a commercial like that during the Super Bowl, wasn't there? Or was the Jesus one?
There's the Jesus one.
Yeah.
By the way, Dan, U2 had a big comeback with Sing 2. Oh, what a flick Sing 2 was. And U2 was involved in that.
Did you think less of U2? Did you personally?
Well, I never thought of U2
have
prior.
Yes,
but you
I
said
did.
that you thought less of Apple Music. I think a lot of people listening to this, that their esteem for Bono, even though Bono's done some amazing, great work in a lot of different places,
Right.
their esteem for what was that sound?
Enough of him. He's a lot.
Oh, come on.
I mean, Bono, great guy. Get off my phone. The only thing that gave me a tiny bit of, like, it kind of repaired the relationship was the final scene of the show, the hit FX series, The Americans, used a U2 song, and in such a pivotal moment, it really I think for me personally, I forgave U2 for everything after that. But Dan, U2 was one of the hottest bands on the planet. And that's why Apple thought they could get away with putting that album on everyone's phones. And they were wrong. That album wasn't even that good. And then everyone stopped talking about U2 for a while.
Well, a lot of people probably
Oh,
thought
please.
that, like, how did I was like, how did I accidentally download this? Like, why do I have this? They just
Am I going to
assume-
see a charge on my iTunes account?
Yeah. I would go looking for it. I'm like, how did I buy this? How do I unbuy this? What do I do here?
Have you seen what the U2's next big move is? They're going to open that new arena in Las Vegas. Have you been to Vegas and seen the new arena that they're building there?
Yes.
It's a sphere. It's James Dolan owns this. It is the MSG Sphere. And you drive by it, it looks like they're building a spaceship in the middle of the desert. It's a venue that is entirely designed for acoustics. It's designed so that it's a 20,000 seat globe essentially, and it's a completely immersive audio experience. I believe they want to not only have live acts at this venue in Vegas, they want to build multiples of them and have like a live show done in one place, and you can go to the Sphere in New York and see the exact same show, but kind of reanimated live in front of you with technology that they have. It's sort of like the new frontier in concerts.
Technology needs to stop, then.
Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo. Does technology need to stop? And also put on the poll, Bono, great guy, get off my phone, question mark.
Dan, you know my favorite philanthropist of all time? Anonymous. Great work by Anonymous, worldwide. Never gets the recognition Anonymous deserves. Never see Anonymous getting a medal. Never see anything. Anonymous doesn't put it in your face all the time.
Are you talking about the hacker, Billy?
No. I'm talking about the philanthropist. Maybe it is the hacker. I don't know.
Why can't people get credit for things that they do charitably? They're doing good work.
For the credit.
It sort of works against the principles of charity to get to hog the credit to hog the credit on it.
Well, you know, it's tough because when you're super famous and you're an activist for something, your fame might help in getting recognition for a thing that you're trying to help or fix. But also, like Roy said, a lot of rich people just do it for tax write-offs.
See, that's the thing, right? Like if you're doing like some sort of fundraiser or you're doing like a drive of some kind, it's like you're using that visibility to get more people to donate. But like if you're just making a donation for like $10 million or something, right? Anonymous.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Do you make your donations with your name attached or anonymously?
Michael Jordan did just make a $10 million donation to Make-A-Wish. Is that who you're referring to, Billy?
No, I was talking about Bono, but it's fine. Again, though, Bono, big bounce back, Dan, with Sing 2. You should check out Sing 2. I have a whole world of movies that I didn't see before that I see now because of my child. And it's like, wow, some of these movies are lovely. Sing 2, one of them. Watch it all the time. Sing 2 seems to be the thing, Dan. You'll learn this if you have kids. Kids kind of just latch on to like one movie or like one book, and it's like their favorite thing, and they watch it over and over and over and over again. Oh my God!
Jesus Christ!
How do they let you know? Like, are they less engaged with other bits of content, or is it because they're super engaged with Sing 2? How do you know that that's the one
thing?
They're
asking for it.
Yeah,
no?
she wakes up and she'll ask for it. She'll say Barney. She'll say Sing 2. Which, by the way, don't get me started on the new Barney. Don't get me started on the new Barney.
I want to hear about
later.
the new. No, I want to hear about the new Barney.
Start on it.
I've heard it's controversial.
Jessica, you've already run off Mike Schur today. You've gotten him suspended for a week, and now you are clamoring for more Barney talk from Billy. When generally what we do with Billy's rambling that he promises
fake Barney,
to get
Dan.
to later.
That's not real Barney. It's fake Barney. It's like this digital Barney. I don't know if there's a clip out yet. I just saw kind of like the picture of this digital Barney. I don't like it one bit. I don't like this Barney one bit. You know what I like about Barney? Barney goes in there, you sing the songs. Every time the I Love You song comes up at the end of the episode, my daughter runs over and she hugs my leg or she gives me a hug. And then when they say the kiss thing, she'll give me a little kiss on the cheek. I'm like, this is so great. I love that she's enjoying this episode from like 1990. It's the weirdest thing because you try to find things that they connect to. Loves Barney, loves Sing 2. She either wakes up and it's Barney or it's Sing 2. I want to go, and you always have to fast forward. If you're going to watch Sing 2, guys, let me just tell you something. You can watch Sing 2 once because there's a story building. I haven't seen Sing 1, so I don't know how we got to Sing 2.
Oh, wow.
Sing 1 wasn't free. Sing 2 was free on Netflix.
Okay.
Haven't seen Sing 1. In fact, on the plane the other day to Phoenix or from Phoenix, Sing 1 was available, and I thought to myself, should I watch Sing 1 so that I have the background story for Sing 2, or should I watch the Top Gun movie? Because like it would close a loop in my life because the last time I was at Radio Row, we had Miles Teller on promoting that movie in 2020. And then they held it off for 2 years. And I thought, you know what? This would be a great way to close that loop. And then I thought, when I'm on a plane, I don't want to watch a movie that involves planes crashing. Not something I'm interested in. Not the time or the place. Not just for me. I talked to Jer Bear over here. Jer Bear said the same thing. He was watching Lost one time on an airplane. And then there was like a flashback scene, I guess, when there's like spoiler or there's like a plane crash or something. And he closed his laptop because he didn't want other people around him to see the laptop situation.
There shouldn't be plane crash movies 100%.
On a plane. There was the one with Denzel where he flies the plane upside down or whatever it is that happened.
Flight.
No, thank you. Don't make that available for me.
What about the new Gerard Butler movie, Plane?
I saw that was on there too. I don't want to see it. Nothing that has airplanes involved in it, especially with like treachery or
Snakes
disaster.
on a plane?
None of that.
No.
Don't need that on my plane.
Under your seat
Have you
there.
seen that video of the snakes that are like those anacondas that are in the roof of that building? They see like one
Yeah.
little snake head
It was
popping
a
out.
little
Yeah.
tail.
Really?
That's the
I saw
tail.
that on
That's the tail.
TikTok.
And then they tap it, and then there's like 3 giant
A million
anacondas
snakes
in
come
there.
out.
Yeah, the ceiling
Horrifying.
collapsed.
Horrifying.
It is horrifying. Doesn't have anything to do with what we were talking about.
So did you watch?
Transition.
Did you,
Well,
did you
so I
watch
ended up-
Sing One or
No, I didn't watch Sing 1. On the way there, I watched... What did I watch? It doesn't matter. On the way back, I watched this movie called
I think
Good
it does.
Morning with Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly. Total disaster of a movie, but if you like movies, it was if you like bad movies, it was a good movie.
And then you told us all that they broke up, which I didn't even know.
Yeah, that happened in
on
the
the
news.
rocks, having trust issues, not working on things.
One of them thought it was going to be a good movie, and one of them thought it was going to be a bad movie.
Becky G's in that movie, Dan.
I don't believe that they have actually broken up. I
Well,
think they're working
Instagram
on
pictures were
things.
taken off, by the way, of Instagram, and then we were following Eminem, and then they had the youths in the room had to explain that situation to me because I didn't understand the significance of that situation. Also, Dan, today, unrelated to all this, and we'll get back to Barney in a moment, Ryan Seacrest stepping down from Ryan and Kelly announced today, or Kelly and Ryan. Incredible. And I also fancied myself a Ryan Seacrest type. So I wonder if this is my lane. Is this my moment? Do I now go to host
Billy,
the show with Kelly
you've
Ripa?
Yeah, go ahead and do
you've
it.
clearly taken too much Ritalin today. I need you to sit in the penalty
What?
box. For 2 minutes,
Whoa!
please.
What?
You're yammering.
It's an S&A,
about-
Dan. I got to tell you something. It's an S&A, Dan. We were talking about it. We're doing great. We're getting through this. Half the show decided not to show up today. I don't know what the hell's going
Well, they're
on.
at the NBA All-Star
Oh.
game. That is not a decision of not showing up. They're allegedly making content.
I
from
was
the-
told they're bobsledding today. Woody's like, can you come in? They got to go bobsledding. And I was like, what?
But what do you mean it's an S&A day? In fact, I regret asking. Just go outside, sit in the penalty box, and maybe when you come back, we will get a clarification on what an S&A day is.
Survive in advance, Dano.
No, I know, but why is it a survive in advance day?
Doesn't seem like he's
today?
surviving.
I want you to go try and survive in the penalty box, and I would be totally okay if you didn't advance in your career from where it is that you're sitting. Beyond that, I wanted to ask you guys about the comments that Justin Fields made to Barstool. I don't know, or pardon my take, excuse me. I don't know if he knows exactly how Chicago fans feel a certain regional pride in how awfully cold it gets there, but he has dared to suggest, like Whittingham did to Buffalo, that there should be a dome on their home games. And the thing that I thought was funny about Whittingham running up against Buffalo and Buffalo taking a strange pride in its cold that I can't understand as someone who loves Miami, I just don't understand the regional identity pride of, yes, I love when it's 20 degrees below zero and I don't want to go outside.
One thing that is funny about that, like, yeah, Chicagoans do have a pride about it's cold and we get through it and like we're tough, we got this. But a few weeks ago when the Bears were playing on, I think it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, they had a home game. They were completely out of any sort of contention for the playoffs. Obviously, this game was not meaningless in terms of anything other than draft picks, but the tickets for their game, because the temperature was, I think, -8 with the wind chill, the tickets were like $6.
Yeah,
Fans did not
should
want to
be.
go to that game. Fans
Yeah,
are not showing up when it's that cold.
I think there was a whole weekend where in Cleveland, wasn't it like -20 that weekend?
I was in Chicago that weekend. When I landed from Miami to Chicago on Christmas Eve morning, it was -32 degrees.
Oh.
It gets so painfully cold there next to the lake with the wind chill. People don't want to go to games during that. Like, yes, they'll say they're going to tough it out. And if it were a playoff game, sure, it probably would have sold out. Like, there would have been fans there. But the Bears are not very good. They haven't been very good late in the season, other than 1 year with Mitch Trubisky. They probably need a dome. People just don't want to sit through that.
The price of the ticket should be the same as the temperature. So if it's -32, pay me. Pay me.
That is a great idea, Roy.
I'm pretty sure he complained about the weather on GBF also, like, and said that if I remember correctly, I think he said it was the worst conditions he ever has played in.
Yeah,
is the home
it's
games in
bad.
Chicago.
The thing that gets funny to me about the way that Buffalo defended its snow and its cold against Whittingham with the great pride of, you don't understand, it's football weather. Peanut Tillman, who I believe we can all agree was pretty tough. I mean, he was known for the peanut punch, which was just punching the football away from offensive players, said he played a first half on a icy Chicago field, a tough human being, and said, I'd like to quit football now. I'd like to go back into the locker room and not do what we're doing. Quitting is not something you articulate, but that person, known for being tough, was like, no, thank you. Not football weather. It's go fuck yourself weather. I don't want to be anywhere on a football field colliding with people and then landing on ice.
And to Jess's point, that stadium is on the lake. It's right. So there is no barriers. There is no tall buildings between you and 40-mile-per-hour winds on a 0-degree day coming off of a lake. It is. I was there in October for a Miami Notre Dame game once, and it was shockingly cold. And the opening game of the season in September, when the weather is supposed to be nice, they played in a freaking monsoon. There is not a stadium, maybe other than Buffalo, that should have a dome more than Chicago.
What are you shaking your head about
Why
now,
taking
Billy?
more shots at Buffalo. Just let Buffalo be, you know?
I mean, they had like 6 feet of snow on the day of a game once.
Why
They had
is
to play in Detroit.
Why is today an S&A day, Billy?
S&A Day, Dan. You know, we're a little short-staffed here, but we all came in. We're going to get through this together. We have some guests on. I think we're doing great. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that we as a group are doing great. I think that we're having plenty of fun. I think Stan lifted all of our spirits today. I think that we came in here thinking, what's going to go on? No Stugotz. No Tony, who's the backbone of this whole organization. You know what I mean? What are we going to do? No Chris Cody to be jolly and laughs. There's chemical explosions left and right. What direction are we going to go in today? Balloons are being shot out of the sky. Lots of things going on in the world. It felt like we could have gone in any direction, but S&A, and we're getting through it together. Look at us, huh?
Do you see what we do for a living? To describe it as something that needs to be endured and survived so you can simply get to the next day, when what we do for a living is come in here and burp into a microphone for 4 hours?
Well, Mike Ryan's not here either today, so we can't do that.
We don't even have a burper here.
Yeah,
exactly.
no burping. Yeah. That's
What
very
are they
unfortunate.
going to produce from the All-Star game? Why are we sending so many people to the NBA All-Star game to cover a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday when we are off the air for most of the time?
I don't think we're producing anything on Sunday. Largely this is to do with our affiliation with our friends at Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club are putting on a live event at NBA All-Star Weekend, and they wanted us to be a part of it. And we did a whole contest around Tony and Chris Cody playing basketball. We did a free-to-play contest with our friends at DraftKings. I had a report that over 60,000 people entered that free-to-play contest, courtesy of our friends at DraftKings. And so, frankly, Dan, the reason is because DraftKings are paying, or for Dollar Shave Club is paying for it? Jesus, I can't talk.
Fans. Oh, well, you've talked too much today. Go sit in the penalty box.
Oh, no!
It's part of
I deserve
why
that
it
one.
today has been survive in advance. A lot of yammering from you.
We're doing good, though. Would you not agree? Like, we're doing good.
We are holding up. We are surviving.
It's hour 2. Like, here we
yes,
are. We're almost done through hour 2.
Please and season S&A, everyone, today.
There you go.
This is what I want to.
Season
I want to understand something because we are. I would say that there is a lot of disorganization. I would say that us having very few rules and very little supervision has not been a great way to do a business plan. And I'm looking at the Slack. And when I see the Slack that we have, it seems like a bunch of 9-year-olds who just want to talk about stuff that's not work in the Slack.
Correct. Yeah. You have
Nail on the
identified
head.
that. There's lots of channels too, and it's hard to track things down sometimes, and sometimes things are not in the right channels, so it's hard to track down exactly where some of these things have gone. But yesterday, Bob, our other backbone, we have 2 backbones. Yesterday, our other backbone, Bob was
Bob
at
the engineer.
a breaking point where he like in the Slack while people were going back and forth on nonsense. I think it was video games. It was the topic du jour yesterday that was going on during the show. Bob asked, how do I stop this? This beeping in my head is driving me crazy. Because presumably he was wearing headphones and he was doing engineer things, whatever it was, building buildings or whatever he does. And he
Getting
was
our
being,
new studios prepared for a move that hopefully will come next month because everything around us here is falling apart.
Yes. So here, look, there's offenders of this, and none of them are in the room at the moment, but we have serial offenders for our Slack.
But they're listening.
They're definitely listening.
Lewis has got an opinion on everything.
Lewis is in there. Mike Fuentes is in there. Cynthia's in there. There's lots of like serial like And I get it. Like, you know, things are going on. We want to kind of, you know, participate. Everybody wants to participate in what's going on. Like yesterday, I don't even know because I was, you know, a little WFH situation. So I was learning about what was going on.
Work from home.
Yeah, through
He
Slack.
was in a big hurry and he wanted to get WFH out there
but now
because he didn't want to
down
just say,
proceedings. Yeah.
It's too bad that we've slowed down because
WFH.
nothing has slowed down in this hour.
I like to keep things moving.
yeah.
You know what I mean, Dan?
Right,
By the
yeah.
way, funniest thing on the show today was
See,
David
it's
Sampson
moving.
asking, "Is there a dress code?" Like, yes. Anyway, so back to Slack. So a lot of times people are just kind of throwing in there. And yesterday we were talking about video games for like an hour, and it's like I am never gonna find what Dan wanted in this mumbo jumbo stuff. So much so that a new channel was created, I think, just because of all the chitter chatter. And even the chitter chatter channel now is a little too much chitter chatter. You know what I mean?
What was happening outside of our soundproof walls
Someone
right now that I
screamed.
heard someone screaming about something? Or is it about this, or is it just about general toxic workplace people screaming at each other? Don't know? Okay, excellent.
No.
It's a good question, Dan. I don't know. We have
If
to
it's
check.
Chris Whittingham, who knows? Serial
There's no
killer
way that was
tendencies.
Whittingham
You know
screaming
what
at
Whittingham
someone
said
like that.
today that was alarming? He just
Super
goes,
alarming.
I have mystery blood on me. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, I just have blood on me. And we're like, well, how? And you're like, do you have a cut? He's like, no, just blood. We're like, that's not
Incriminating.
normal. You don't just have blood on your hands.
Was it him that was screaming, or was it someone else that was screaming, or are people now just screaming while we're doing the show?
He has a giant grin over there in the penalty box,
He
which
just killed someone.
possibly a possible murder situation.
It is how he would look immediately after killing someone.
He's
sort
looking
of
great in that lighting, if I may.
It
say
is.
so.
He
good
is-
lighting.
It's well
Oh, it
lit.
is good lighting.
Unfortunately, this is mostly audio for the people listening, and so you once again just derail everything that we're doing here
I'm just here to keep things moving along, Dano. You know what I mean?
on an SNA.
SNA, that's
day.
what we're doing. SNA, and we are S'ing and we are A'ing.
Jessica, I did want to ask you yesterday on a more serious subject. You have told the people before how it is and why it is that you ended up at Sports Illustrated, and yesterday was another brutal day for Sports Illustrated. One of the great brands in sports for me growing up has turned into vitamin sales and firing people, and it's really been contaminated in a way that must hurt your heart as someone who, you know, began her career caring about some of the things that Sports Illustrated used to represent.
Yeah, so there were more layoffs at Sports Illustrated yesterday. I think my opinion on this for the last 3 years since Sports Illustrated was acquired by a company called the Arena Group and then licensed, or I guess acquired by a company called Authentic Brands Group, and then they licensed the operation to a company called Maven, which has then changed their names to the Arena Group, is that I don't think they have any interest in really investing in journalism or having a magazine. The magazines went from, you know, bi-monthly, now it's monthly. They've laid off so many journalists. There was a report I saw last week that they're going to start using AI to do some sort of thing there instead
To
of
replace
paying
humans.
for writers. And they're claiming that they're not, but like using it to write blurbs for stuff, which are jobs that human beings, yes, would normally have. I don't know what the truth is with that, but yeah, it's depressing seeing more people get laid off and seeing, you know, the people that make the magazine and the website and all of the stuff that people, I think, became accustomed to and associated with Sports Illustrated, which I think is great storytelling about sports. Like, that is just really upsetting. And it seems like I don't really know what the end game is for them. They don't want to make a journalistic magazine. They just want to sell products that say, you know, have Sports Illustrated branded names on them. What is that brand worth if there's no product to go along with it anymore that speaks anything to people that consume it?
It's not just that they did excellent journalism, excellent storytelling, excellent writing. I feel like I was, it dawned on me as if by illumination, oh shit, I got to change what I'm doing. When I sat with the people at the beginning of Pardon the Interruption in a production meeting, and no one in the room wanted to read a long magazine story about anything in sports. And I remember it clearly because of how much it hurt and how it jarred me without realizing, oh, this is how and where it's going to change too, with debate culture and argument shows and the need for speed. And I don't have time to sit down and read something that's well written that actually gives me illumination and insight into an athlete I care about. unless it's a book. So now we used to have something in the middle between a book to support your fandom on who it is that you want to learn more about and just whatever it is, local TV coverage. And it doesn't exist anymore. Like, where would you go right now that would be like Sports Illustrated, where you would go because you want to be more informed than you are about the personalities and about the stories, not the data, not the analytics. There are a lot of places that will give you a lot of good information that is learning, but just to learn something more about a personality, like read something about Jokic that surprises you because you have no idea who he actually is underneath trying to fight through interviews in a foreign language.
It's definitely like it's a huge bummer, and it's super concerning because there's still, I know, a number of great journalists and reporters who still work at Sports Illustrated that are making great work. And of course, there's The Athletic and there's other great outlets that still publish good sports journalism. But those people that work at those companies need support, and they need people that are going to like manage those companies, not at the expense of doing it as cheaply as possible, doing it with no regard for the people that work there, and with the only thing in mind being profit. And it's definitely something that you're seeing even at ESPN. Like, the TV product at ESPN is the biggest thing now, whereas, you know, before there used to be magazine shows like Roy mentioned, Outside the Lines. They don't really do that anymore. There used to be more emphasis on ESPN the magazine and on written work.
But what's the incentive? The people don't want it. Like, if you're running a business and the business happens to have journalism in it, and I'm telling you that the people will not pay, it will not. Content is expensive, and doing these things can cost, it can be prohibitive. What is your market if people aren't clamoring for it? If people aren't mad that Sports Illustrated is dying or dead? If you don't get an absence of this because too many things are happening too fast, whatever it is, TikTok era, the stimulants are too big for people to sit down with something that's going to take, an hour to read.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, maybe people don't want to read long form. Maybe not as many people want to read long form journalism anymore that did 10 years ago. But I do think there is still a market for that. I think people, when you know your audience, you are speaking to people in a way that they can understand and comprehend, you can make things that they want. Whether that means you have to change your model a little bit, sure, but I don't think that means cheapening your product. I don't think that means doing worse work. I don't think that means paying less money, and I don't think that means gutting an entire workforce. I think we as sports fans, we want those stories, right? Maybe we
as Meadowlark Media want them as business.
Maybe we want them told to us in a different way. Maybe we're not going to buy a magazine anymore. Magazine sales across the board are not what they used to be. Like, the magazine industry as a whole is not what it used to be. And maybe the people that run these companies that make incredibly exorbitant salaries need to figure out, how do we repackage this to the audience? What does our audience want? And how do we serve our audience? Not how do we serve ourselves? How do we make ourselves rich? And that's what it has happened with a lot of journalism, I think, over the last decade. It's not serving an audience.
You're supposed to separate the money, the money and editorial. It's happening less and less. All of these things that have this separation are under attack. But Whittingham, can you look up for me how much The Athletic loses a year? Because The Athletic has now gotten in partnership with the New York Times, needed some help in order to stave off the amount of losses that they have a year. It is very expensive to try to do this, and I don't know what the market is as Sports Illustrated dies and nobody seems to care.
Yeah, I think people do care. I think also you have to ask, when it comes to work that I think serves the public, maybe turning a profit isn't the right goal. Maybe you serve the public by giving them information that they need. And maybe the whole problem is that we're trying a profit-driven news model for things that we need. Like, when it comes to stories like this train derailment in Ohio, or there's all of these sort of like natural disasters happening, hurricanes, anything like that, why should we have to pay for information that we need to live our lives? And why is this model, like, why have we agreed that it's an advertiser-driven model to begin with? I don't know. Those are like big macro questions. I think the micro when it comes to sports journalism is that a lot of these companies tend to go with whatever they think will earn them a quick buck. Like, when I worked at SB Nation for a year, it was, we're making Facebook videos, pump out as many as you can. This is how we're going to make money. We have an advertising Facebook partnership. They're paying us. We're making money. We're making videos. It doesn't matter if their videos are any good or not, as long as people watch them. And then like a year later, Facebook was like, yeah, we were inflating those numbers. The people who you guys, we told you were watching those videos probably didn't watch those videos. So advertisers said, all right, we're not going to pay for that type of thing anymore. Layoffs across the board at my old company. What was the point of that? Did it serve our audience? No. Was it good storytelling? Sometimes it was okay, but did it do anything for anyone in the long run? Like, no, it was chasing a profit-driven model that doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve the work, and it doesn't serve the audience.
No, but newspapers, for one, need to survive and advance. Like, you need to do something. It's the threat.
We're all surviving and advancing
it's
today,
the
Dan.
threat that editorial is always under.
SN and AN.
And the thing that stinks, particularly, like I have a few newspaper subscriptions, but you don't get a ton of value for them. They're not great business propositions because the entities themselves don't have enough to really survive. And so I would like for, more coverage of things that I care about, but clearly the newspapers decided we can't afford it because we don't have enough of you. We don't have enough subscribers. So the critical mass of reaching that value is tough.
It's also become a lot easier to get the information on like a 4,000 word essay in like a recap that's 800 words that someone else wrote. And it's like, oh, here are the juicy parts. Someone else wrote it at another company. Like, I can read it here. Oh, Barry Jackson has something here, but it's behind a paywall. I'll just look on Twitter and see what the stories are.
I heard you through a soundproof wall sniff at Whittingham having newspaper subscriptions.
Suckers born every minute, you know what
which
I mean?
I do only to support journalism. I've got so many unwrapped newspapers in my home.
Dan, you don't understand the confusing world that I'm in right now, where I saw Barry Jackson tweet out yesterday, the day before, that a local news station here is about to have no sportscasters. And I clicked the thing, and it's like, sign in your credentials. I'm like, no. And now it's just a mystery to me. How did that happen? When will this go off the air? Like, what is happening at that station? I don't know.
When we're all swallowed by aliens and the story warning us was behind a paywall, Billy. There's
that's
your answer.
on them. You know what I mean? Like, that's their problem.
The New York Times announced operating losses of $36 million for the Athletics since they took over. It's about $9 million a quarter.
I mean, that's not that much.
It's
not.
I mean, okay, but it is. It's not. You're right.
It's not zero.
But it is. It's not that much for a business, but when businesses are struggling to survive in this marketplace, the Athletic doesn't have a lot of competitors, at least in part because they're one of the few actually clinging to the idea that the customer still wants this.
We can get one billionaire to cover that easily. Let's call back David Sampson, right? He's a philanthropist. He'll donate some of his net worth to the Athletic, right? As long as they don't report anything on him, I guess. But
I hate the lack of confidence that anyone around here has, me included, when we stumble on a word.
I was bad with octogenarian before. Yeah,
I couldn't say the word play 20 minutes ago.
I said Calgary Frames yesterday.